Aokiji. When Garp pulled up to Ashinosu that day to save Kobe, there was only really one man standing in his way, and that was Aokiji. He was the only one who could stand up to him and actually beat him. Unfortunately for Aokiji, he did have feelings towards Garp still. He didn't want to have to do what he ultimately did, but he did it to some say to keep up a look or whatever, but he's a Blackbeard pirate, so he's gonna do what he needs to for them. He walked out on his job. He's not a Marine no more. And he's like, you have to, kill this student to protect the new one. So are you gonna do that or not? And Garp was like, I didn't teach you to be soft, so I'm gonna, attack you with everything. And Kuzan ended up fighting against Garp, holding back a bit. People forget that Garp did have a great showing against Aokiji, but ultimately Aokiji was more powerful than Garp because his age is waning on him and everything else. That's why he got caught. That's why he got grabbed up. That's why Aokiji was able to freeze him over. He ended up not being able to endure as long. Because he's an old man. And Aokiji was like, I don't want to have to do this, but I will. And he ended up doing it. He had a teardrop come down his face. That's how you could tell he didn't want to. But he had to keep up with appearances, or just, maybe he is a pirate at the end of the day. But most people know that he's probably still a Marine at heart, right, with the sword group. But he had to maintain appearance because he's a Blackbeard pirate, and they all called him out. They were like, yo, we need your help. When they saw him, they were like, oh shit, we have, Aokiji here with us, and he can, take this, old man down. And he did, with a little bit of help. He did have a little bit of help from Shiryu of the Rain. But I wouldn't say that was great help, He had that one. But let me, me telling y'all this, how I have this. You should know that I have him over Garp. So strength is a 96, and a 96 for his speed, and a 97 for his durability. 96 for his endurance, and a 93 for his intelligence. 95 for his experience, and a 95 for his close skills. Range skills at a 95, and a 94 for his recoup. 95 for his hacks, and an overall power score of a 95.2 for Aokiji. Be cool, corner, as he might say.